Okay, so hello everyone, this is Akshay, and today I'm going to solve this question on maximum product Subarray. And today in our journey, the day marks as 626 days of problem solving and bunch of other things. And that's it. That's our Discord channel. You can join for the regular updates, and that's our user repository, which covers all the source code which we have solved in around last 2 years. Coming back to the question, so today's question is maximum product Subarray. Let us quickly get to head to the tab screen. And this question been asked in many big companies. And yeah, so today's question says, what are the given points? So we have been given an array that contains positive and negative integers, and it may contain zero as well. So that's the point. And just hearing the first line itself, मेरे को समझ में आ रहा है कि I need to handle zero and some negative scenarios because negative product negative, it will give you positive, and negative product positive will give you a negative number, right? So we need to find the maximum product that we can get in a sub-array of array. So in the first line, if you'd see -2, 6, 3, and 180. So the sub-array responsible here for the maximum product is 6, 3, and -10. So there goes the thing which I talked in the initial statement कि अगर दो एलिमेंट नेगेटिव है तो उनका सम होता है पॉजिटिव, राइट? एंड हो सकता है कि दो नेगेटिव नंबर्स कंबाइन करने के बाद जो पॉजिटिव नंबर आएगा उसका मैग्नीट्यूड इज मच ग्रेटर देन एन अदर सिनेरियो ऑफ वेयर अ पॉजिटिव एंड पॉजिटिव इज गेटिंग मल्टीप्लाइड, राइट? सो वी नीड टू हैंडल सच केसेस. तो इसको कैसे हैंडल करेंगे आप? Intuition remains the same. So in this video, we will be covering two methods, right? So method one would be our brute force technique. That is, whenever we have been taught to find any particular sub-array, subsequence, or substring, so the brute force is always that you form all the possible combinations here, right? And you will, if you try to form all the possible sub-arrays, O of n square would be a time complexity and O of 1 has space, right? In the method 2 approach, or in the say the better or the optimal approach, we would be covering the same thing in O of n and O of 1 as space, right? Where we will be handling the negative scenarios and the zeros cases, right? Negative scenarios are the one which needs more highlight. And again, we would see. So before proceeding ahead, we will see the brute force approach in action, and we'll see the TLE coming ahead, and we will move ahead again. Coming back to our this screen, so let me move our TLE code. So this is the TLE code, and again O of n square. So why the TLE is there? Because we are using O of n square, and if you see the constraint is 10 power 6. So basically we are using an iteration which is equal to 10 power 6 whole square, which is 10 power 12, which is greater than 10 power 8, and that's why we're getting the TLE. So where is this logic coming from 10 power 8? You can search a video on the YouTube saying trick the TLE by Akshay, and you will understand the constraint analysis and how do we code it in the particular algorithm to solve a particular problem. Going ahead, solving this question now is, okay, so इस क्वेश्चन में हमें बस इतना ध्यान रखना है कि there would be this scenario, negative multiplied by negative, there would be some number num, right? There would be one other scenario that is positive star positive, right? There would be some another number y, right? There would be such cases where negative star negative resulting in this number could be greater than in magnitude with this possible scenario, right? If that is the case, we need to update our maximum in accordance to our particular answer, right? तो हमें यही करना होगा कि whenever let's say at this point there are some bunch of integers, and let's say all of them here we have a, let's say, maximum. We need to track the maximum, we need to track the minimum, and need to track the final resultant, the maximum of all the possible scenarios, right? So maximum, assuming that you have a maximum in this thing as a positive integer, let's say 36, right? And the minimum in this case, you have a negative sub array which resultant in the product, it resultant, let's say, as -6, right? Now a scenario comes where there is an element, there is a negative element, and again bunch of elements are there in the right hand side, right? And let us say this element is here as -10, right? So what you will do, अगर यहाँ पे अगेन देखो तीन केसेस होंगे, -10 एक नंबर होगा, दूसरा होगा -10 multiplied with our so far maximum product. But if you see, this is a positive number and it will ultimately give you a negative number, right? So -360, which is even lesser than my current maximum, right? But there would be one other case कि अगर नेगेटिव को नेगेटिव से मल्टीप्लाई किया जाता, that is -10 into -6, which will give you 60, right? And this is greater than my current maximum, right? And our resultant or the maximum should be updated to 60, and the resultant also to 60, right? how do we handle this case? What is the line of particular line of code we should try to handle this case? हमें बस इतना करना होगा कि whenever we are getting element of, let's say, array of I is less than 0, then we swap our current max and minimum, right? And everything rest follows, right? So let me show you the code now, and we will do one dry run to understand it ins and out, and then we'll continue again. Okay, so here's the complete code, right? And we're gonna see its complete dry run now. So this is the case which I was talking about, that if array of zero, array of I is less than 0, then we need to swap the current min and max so that we can cover this particular scenario which we just talked about, right? So let us do a run for this current example, current array which we have. We'll do a run for this a portion of it. The whole run is not required. So -2, 6, -3, and 10, right? And we're going to be declaring some variables. That is, we will have, let me zoom out a bit. We will have max, we'll have min, and we have a final resultant which will store the maximum of all of it. So the first element is -2, right? So in the -2, the maximum would also be point to the -2, minimum -2, result in -2, assuming that we have only one element, that is -2, right? Going ahead, we'll have another element. The next element is 6, right? So we will have now again three combinations. That is this 6, the individual subarray which only has one element. Now this 6 combined with -2, that is 6 into -2, which will give you -12. That is the product of this subarray. And then minimum, that is 6, 6 into -2, again a -12. So these are the possible combinations, right? So again, we will update our max again. So max would be updated to now 6, minimum would be updated to now -12, and the resultant would be updated as 6. Next element comes, which is -3, and this is a game changer, right? If that is the case, what we decided, ki, anyhow, if we combine the negative integer with the maximum value so far, which is a positive, anyhow we'll get a negative integer, and which will be lesser than my current max, right? So we will just swap it, right? Because a negative number into negative number will give you a positive number, and that positive number may exceed in magnitude with in comparison with our current max, right? So it would be shifted, and my this particular variables which hold these current values, that is -12, would come as max, 6 as min, and again resultant remains same. Now the combinations or the possible scenarios are -3 again acting as the individual subarray element. Now -3 into -12, which will give you +36, right? And -3 into 6, which will give you -18, right? And if you now individually see it, then +36 is nothing but considering all these three elements, right? And this -18 is nothing but considering these two elements, right? That makes sense. And now again, a resultant would be updated as maximum is nothing but 36. Minimum, again, the minimum among these is 18, so -18. And resultant, again, the maximum of all the scenarios, again, it would be 36, right? The next element come, which is a -10, right? Again, a game changer. Could be a game changer. Not exactly a game changer, but could be a game changer. So -10, it gives you, again, I would say the maximum is, the maximum would always be positive, right? If there's a positive element in our given subarray, then even a single one is all even greater than all the negative integers, right? So we will again swap it again in hope that the negative into negative will result in a positive number, and that positive number may result in a greater magnitude than our current max. So -10 into so if when we swap it, so the resultant are now max is pointing to -18, min is pointing to +36, resultant is 36 again. So the combinations here are the -10 individual standing as a subarray, which is pointing to just single element. Now -10 into -18, which will give you 180, -10 into -36, which will give you -360, right? And this 180 is nothing but the combinations of, or let's say the subarray holding all these elements, not all these, just these. 10 is a 30 and 36 is a 180. Again, -360, again holding the next possible scenarios. So now in this particular scenario, we need to track again the maximum of it. So 180 here, and minimum is nothing but -360, right? And the resultant would be again 180, right? I think this run is more than enough to understand the intuition of this problem and the code as well. So here goes our 180, and if the particular given subarray or the elements are like this, -2, 6, -3, and 10, then the resultant is 180. Even if we add a next two element, which is given in the first input, that is 0 and 2, then 0 will, any number multiplied with 0 is resultant at 0, right? So this subarray cannot be combined with 0, and this subarray individual only holds the value 2. So again, it's the minimum. It is less than the compared of 180 formed as of now. So again, the answer would be 180, right? Okay, so let us see the code in action. So that's the code. And again, what is the time and space? So since we are using only one for loop, there is only one iteration and few variables, which does not hold any additional space. So O of n as your time complexity and O of 1 as your space complexity. That's it for this one. Till then, keep learning, keep going. Bye-bye, and take care. The source code you will find here in this repository. Do join our Discord channel. And if you like this video, getting any help from my journey, then please like, share, and subscribe. And let's meet again in the next one.